Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Destroy the thing. God, that's And on that note, are we cool to start?
Yes.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Fan Film Reviews. I'm Supportu. Joining me today is the one, the only, the realest of them all, the real Manos, aka Justin Cristelli.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Oh, everyone's doing good, unlike you, sir.
Oh, great. What are you talking about?
Nice, calm, serene.
I'm the usual cheerful, NPR-like, the real Manos.
Oh my. So Manos, what are we doing today on Fan Film Reviews?
We are talking about this subtle little classy piece of art called Godzilla Battle Royale.
Indeed. So this is a couple years old at this point, 2014. I was actually recommended this, and I kind of told you about it, so I'm glad you were able to pick it. I was recommended this by one of our followers, Kaiju Noir, and so I'm going to say right at the outset, I'm not a Godzilla fan. I like Godzilla, but I like Godzilla vicariously through others. I actually do not like any Godzilla films. Like, I've watched them, like, okay, this scene's cool, but my word, am I bored to death by a lot of Godzilla films. And so I have this interesting, I have a lot of complicated feelings on this film, and I'm sure the fact that I've admitted at the offset that I am not a Godzilla fan is going to kind of put me in a weird place for people who are hardcore Godzilla fans and people who love this film, and so we'll see how that goes. But Manos is a Godzilla fan, and so we'll start with him. Manos, what did you think of this?
I also had a lot of complicated feelings about it. Don't feel bad. First off, the big disappointment is that this film wasn't about Godzilla fighting a bunch of Japanese school kids on an island in the future. I was completely baffled by that title. But no, seriously. I do have complicated feelings about the film. Because it's very obvious that these people, really loved what they're doing, are big Godzilla fans. They put a lot of obvious work into it. I guess, I mean, I can get into it, but it's a wee too long. Maybe just a little bit too much enthusiasm. I wish there was a little bit more than being the most stereotypical Godzilla story they could have put together. But there are some on the other hand, there are some really loving touches to the film that, I picked up on, and some references and callbacks that I thought were nice. It's the central Japanese invasion, it's the central
alien invasion of the Earth
invasion, using the monsters to attack Earth story. I mean, basically, they came up with that really clever idea a few movies in, and they've just the real film series has recycled it a few times, occasionally doing something really clever. I really like the way they did it in Final Wars, and the mid-90s Godzilla versus King Ghidorah I thought was an interesting way of going about it, where it was like Americans from the future, not so much aliens, trying to manipulate monsters to destroy Japan, which I think is my favorite take on that plot. This time around, we have this chick who looks like Princess Dragon Mom, with Rita Repulsa type. And yeah, it's pretty much the standard. Oh, let's get monsters destroy the world. Now, it is it is fun. There is a lot of energy to it. I don't know. I'm kind of I'm kind of a little unfocused on what I want to talk about.
No, it's cool, because
is there an angle you want to go for first?
Oh, well, my general thoughts, again, were yeah, you can definitely tell there's a lot of love and dedication. I kind of, scrolled through the guy's channel. It looked like he'd been making this for, I think 4 years or maybe even more.
Yeah.
And that
it shows.
It shows that he put a lot of love and work into it. But I think this is the thing where you can definitely tell it is very fan made, because just certain things about filmmaking are not quite paid attention to, or are kind of you get the sense of, oh well, it's good enough for a lot of it. Okay, there's a lot of subtle touches to filmmaking that people just, you don't think about it, and that's the whole point. Color grading for scenes, making sure that the color palette of a scene matches scene to scene in a movie, so that you don't get something that is like, just blue in one shot and then red in the next, and it just like the tone of the palette of the film doesn't change drastically. And in this, it's like, okay, when they're in what is obviously the miniature city set, the background of the sky is kind of like that dark blue, and I don't know if that was meant to be chroma keyed out later and then they just couldn't do it for whatever reason, but that could still work because, the night sky can still be blue some nights, especially if you're in a city. But then, like, they'd cut to green screen or blue screen shots of them up against, like, still images of the monsters destroying cities, and the night sky would be black, or it'd be, like, kind of an orangish, yellowish black. And so there's just a lot of stuff like that where I'm like, man, I'm never going to fault them for all the dedication and hard work that was put into this. I'm not going to say that this was lazy or pathetic, because it's not. It's just, it's very clear that they don't quite know everything about what they're doing.
I would agree to that. It almost, also the tone was kind of one note. And my favorite Godzilla films, like any other really good, like, action type of film or science fiction film, have tones and pacing, and the better ones are very well paced, where they know when to go quiet and build suspense. And this one is literally just like the entire thing is like guys in a green screen and costumes like hitting each other and explosions and yelling, to the point where I think by 30 minutes in, which this is this is a full-length film, by 30 minutes in, I was so bored I went to the bathroom and didn't bother putting the movie on pause, because I knew it would be pretty much the same thing when I walked back. I'm in this weird spot because I don't like a lot of the Godzilla films. Every time I watch one, I'm like, okay, we're just following these people around, and I find most of these people pretty boring. And I just have a hard time relating to anybody in any of the Godzilla movies. And so the idea of making a movie that is like 90% just the monsters fighting seems like is going to be the most appealing to me out of anybody. And at the same time, I don't know, like, when I get the sense of less is more with this film, because the suits that they have the actors in, the suits and the puppets that they use, vary in quality greatly, drastically. Yes. And so what I want to see is like the cool monster fights, but sometimes a lot of these monsters just look really, really dorky. And to be honest, a lot of the actual film's costumes look really, really dorky by today's standards. So it's unlike
not like
the old days of 2014.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, in the actual movies, like, if you go back and look at, like, some of the original films, like, it's just, it looks kind of goofy. It looks kind of silly. It doesn't look anywhere near believable compared to what we're capable of today with miniatures or CGI or whatever. So it's one of those things where, like, you could get away with dorkier costumes, but, like, it's just so drastic. Like, the Hedorah's the big, like, octopusy kind of look, octopusy shit. Yeah. James Bond fan film. Octopus looking toxic sludge monster or whatever, right? Like, Hedorah looks really bad, and it does not help that, like, the character, the pilot, calls it a giant piece of shit. Wow. And then at the same time, Biollante looks fucking incredible.
I was really taken back by when I first saw Biollante in the film. Somebody put some hardcore work into Biolante's costume or puppet or however they did it, because it looked gorgeous. It almost film ready.
Yeah,
as they like to say. It looked amazing. And I will counter this. I did find that to be kind of part of the charm of the film. One of the things I liked about the film was the variant degrees of costumes. Some, like I said, were stunning. And like the second form, the Super Saiyan Godzilla form.
Yeah, that looked great.
That looked great, and I thought that was kind of like a cool touch where, like, like the Godzilla we see through most of the film looks like kind of the late 60s, 70s Godzilla, where he was a little kind of sillier and like more friendly looking. And then he turns into sort of the more modern version of Godzilla. I thought that was kind of clever. And yeah, Biollante looks amazing. There's a couple others that look good. I thought Mothra looked good. Mothra
looks pretty good.
And yeah, there were some, like, I can't remember the name of the creature from, I think Gigan from Godzilla 2000. You can see the guy's head, like, wrapped up in, like, black spandex, as, you know, the monster head is, like, dipped over him. I liked that. I thought that was just, I don't know, just fun to watch. And I thought that, like, created a nice variety of silly-looking, cheap-looking costumes mixed in with things that looked really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, see, like, Mechagodzilla looked great, and
he did, yeah.
What is it?
Did.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the one that's like they say it's the same size as Godzilla. It's kind of like looks a lot like Godzilla, but just like horns on its head. Like I like that, and I couldn't help but feel like, man, if you just knew what you could make, and I'm not even sure production wise what was made by just the team working on this, and what was like, you know, we got cosplayers who are really interested in this and they want to be in it, so we're gonna include them for a minute or two. I think that might have happened because it looks like they did some stuff with G-Fest, which is the big Godzilla con. So it's entirely possible that like they kind of branched out and it got bigger as they worked on it. So I don't want to be too judgmental about that, but at the same time, man, being that flexible, that open, it just creates a really weird dynamic where it's hard to really place it down. And honestly, I could have gone for just, you know, a 20-minute Hyper Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla versus Biollante movie, you know? Because those are, I think, the top tier of the costumes that they achieved. But at the same time, maybe they only got Hyper Godzilla when they were, you know, 2 years into their production or something, right?
Yeah.
He comes in long after, so
I don't know anything about the production of it, but you know, I can tell like they just went all in. Like, oh fuck, who can we get in this? Okay, who can make a Zigra suit? You know, Zigra isn't even a Godzilla monster; he's a Gamera monster.
Oh, interesting.
And you know, I sent this picture to you earlier. I'm watching the film and I'm seeing Zigra show up. I'm like, wait, I've seen that costume before. And I went back and looked through my pictures. Like, I met whoever is in this suit at a Virginia at a Virginia Con in 2014. Like, that's that same Zigra suit.
That's cool.
And it's 2000. It was 2014, so it's like, oh, okay, that guy had the suit. They just made the film. We didn't talk outside of me telling I love the suit. The suit looked The suit looked good in person, just as it did in film. It looked that good, and you know, just standing in front of me. I can send you the picture if you can post that picture of me and Zigra hanging out in this video.
Totally.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah.
No, it's just like it's really cool to see all those together. Like that shot where it's got like the fucking metal guitar, it shows all the monsters lined up and there's fire. I mean, if nothing else, that's really impressive levels of compositing. Because like here's another technical thing I can talk about where I know how much work whoever edited this put in to compositing a lot of these shots. Like the beginning sequence where the monsters are destroying Chicago and you like got the lobster thing that destroys the bridge, and you've got monsters coming up and taking down buildings. That's a lot of work with compositing different layers and stuff. And it looks like you put a lot of effort into it. It just doesn't look very good. It looks like you took an image from the internet, from Google search, maybe cut out a building, or maybe found one where the building was already cut out on a transparent background, and then put it in and animated it. And like, it's the level of work smarter, not harder, that it comes down to for me. Like, yes, I will admit that you put a ton of work into this, and I can tell that it was passionate. I'm sorry, it still doesn't look very good at the end of the day. It looks kind of laughable.
I wonder, let's see. I mean, they also like went so far as to get like someone who's been in Godzilla films to just make a cameo. That was, I don't know, that was, they must have made a few calls. That might have, they probably had to maybe pay him, or maybe they just asked really, really nicely, and he was kind enough to give him a few minutes.
I'm pretty sure they did something at G-Fest. Because like if you look at the beginning of the movie, there's all the people running around with like name tags on, and I'm pretty sure they're just at G-Fest and got people to do some work that wanted cameos in the movie, and then I imagine he was maybe there or something, and they talked him into it, which is
there were some rooms that looked like hotel conference rooms, so that's probably what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's obviously green screened, and I don't know who that is, but I was like, okay, this is obviously some famous guy who's attached to Godzilla in some way, shape, or form. We're talking about the dude that gives the USB drive, right?
Yes.
Okay, who is that?
To be honest, I don't remember. He's been in a few, and there's some Godzilla actors who are like, they've been in so many, I just kind of lose track of like who they are. Because there's this one actor... Oh, man, there's this one actor who's been in, like, 5, 6, 7 throughout the 50s and 60s and 70s. And, like, he'll play a different part, like, each time.
Yeah, okay. Well, like, doing something like that is really cool, and it adds a lot of credibility. It's like, you'll see it a lot with Star Trek fan films, where they get one of the actors from the original series to do something.
Usually Chekhov.
He does a lot of them. It's I don't care. It's fucking cool.
Hey, David, Jason, Frank, we're shooting a Power Rangers fan film at our garage. You want to show up? Be right there.
Yeah. So, like, stuff like that, it's really cool. And it lends just like this, oh man, effect to a fan film when you're a fan of the franchise. To someone like me, I'm like, that's clearly a famous person from the franchise that they actually got into their film. It works. Like, that's all I gotta say. That is not the biggest problem with this.
It's always fun and cool when somebody's able to do that. And it's always cool of the performer. Like, they obviously didn't have to do that, and they're probably not getting paid or getting paid at all. So yeah, it's always sweet. And to be honest, like, if I was to that level of something, I would definitely like probably have done it once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool.
I can see doing that.
And it's fun to do. And it adds a certain level of oh my to the fan film. And again, I'll talk about, like, I can talk all day about, like, a lot of the technical and just filmmaking side of this that I feel is just, I mean, this is going to sound harder than I mean it to, but it's just objectively weak. But at the same time, I can see how, like, I scrolled through the comments looking at this, and there are a lot of Godzilla fans who are saying, like, this is the best Godzilla fan film ever, which I'm probably not going to argue with since I haven't seen any besides this. But, like, I can definitely see that if I were a huge Godzilla fan, I would probably be in love with this despite, or maybe even because of all its flaws, I could probably see just going, I don't care that it's got problems, I love it because some fans came together and they made an 1.5-hour monster fight scene. And, you were talking earlier, you kind of know what it's going to be, so you can walk away from 10 minutes and not really matter. And you know what? Yeah, but at the same time, it's called Godzilla Battle Royale, so, like, what did you want? Godzilla and King Kong sitting down and talking out their differences?
Maybe. See, here's the thing. There's this... there's this complaint that I don't know if it's purely with Godzilla purists and fans, or maybe just casual fans. It seems like when one comes out, people complain that there's not enough Godzilla or not enough monster fighting. Mm-hmm. Like they did that with Edward's 2014 film. And they did that with... they've done that with a couple other films. Like even Shin Godzilla got that complaint. And especially when Godzilla has like a solo film. Like, you know, a lot of times they like to do Godzilla solo when, they start a new series or something like that. And people bitch and moan about like him not fighting other monsters. The 2000 U.S. film, I thought, got some interesting complaints because he did fight other monsters, but got complaints that there wasn't enough Godzilla. This is him fighting monsters, him all the time. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's kills the pace. It's like that saying, when everyone's screaming, no one is heard.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there's tons of explosions and acting and yelling and screaming and monster suits and all that shit. And 20, 30, 40 minutes, I'm kind of bored. I could go for like a scene of two people talking in lab coats. I could use a stupid, annoying kid. You know, just give me a minute. Just let me pace myself here.
Yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah.
That's definitely a valid complaint, and I feel like that's a filmmaking kind of complaint, right?
My complaints really actually are kind of similar to my complaints of City of Scars. Like, I really admire the hell out of the work that it took to put this thing together. Both are, obviously labors of love. They took a lot of effort. But, the story, the script really does, like, kind of bring it down a little bit. And
I think part of that might just, like, do you get the feeling watching this that, like, they had a vague outline of what they wanted the script to be, and then they kept, like, adding stuff in as they went?
I suppose so, yeah.
Because, like, how many times does she say that she's released all the monsters, and then, like, release another monster, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just a weird one. Like, it's like 2 or 3 times that it's like a new final monster, and then, like, I don't know, but at the same time, it's really cool when Biollante shows up. I thought it was clever. I don't know if this is an in-canon character, but I thought it was pretty clever to do Queen Ghidorah as opposed to King Ghidorah. I thought that was neat.
There's no Queen Ghidorah, but that was kind of cool. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. It was a nice... there was a couple of cool tricks that this script did that I did like, and I did mention Godzilla turning Super Saiyan into a more modern Godzilla, which I thought was a nice kind of meta reference to the years of Godzilla and the changes of the character. And the second one was the Princess Dragon Mom character turning into Queen Ghidorah at the end. I thought that was really a cool touch as well. Yeah. And because, like, she, like, glows as the spaceship built by Ed Wood exploded, and I thought, oh, she blew up first or something like that. But no, she obviously was starting to transform or something like that. Yeah, I liked that quite a bit. There's just some cool shit here and there. The thing is, like, they're obviously maybe, because one of the things I was thinking of, because I don't know anything about the behind the scenes production.
Mm-hmm. Now you're cutting out.
So we're doing so, please. Oh, okay. Can you hear me again? Yeah,
you said I don't know anything about the behind the scenes production.
Yeah, I don't know the thought process behind putting it together, but I do wonder if maybe some of the really, really stoic, flat B-movie dialogue was, like, on purpose. Like, were we making fun of this type of dialogue? Or was it just we just made that type of dialogue because we're not writers? And I don't know, because the thing is, like, a lot of the flat B-movie dialogue they were writing felt more like a 50s American B-movie. oh geez, like the incredible Sun Demon, for instance, or any of Ed Wood's movies, or
Mm-hmm.
but dialogue in Japanese Godzilla films and kaiju films aren't really kind of written the same way. They don't. If there's something that's corny and a lot of like the classic films, at least. What annoys me is that stuff brought on by American distributors who are like adding in terrible dubbing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes on purpose. Like, it's like, that voice, you need to do that fucking voice for that character. It's not how that person talks. And so, that's something we put on a movie and then we make fun of it, which seems a little unfair.
Yeah, and some of the dialogue was just like, okay, this guy feels like he's being comedic. Like the alien assistant, my
Yes.
queen! Like, oh, that just feels like you're trying to be comedic. And then there's like, it's right in the beginning of the movie when Godzilla and the other monsters are destroying the city. And like, they straight up just have a guy go, "It's Godzilla!" And I'm like, oh, okay, that's... it's just weird tonally,
It is like that's a white guy yelling Godzilla like a Japanese guy. It's like that doesn't make much sense outside of like, oh hey, that's a thing. And also, yeah, just with the B movie dialogue, just was so flat in a lot of places, and I suppose I still feel like it was on purpose. But the problem was, like, if you're gonna do that type of dialogue and make fun of it, it should be kind of funny. Because have you ever seen the movie Lost Skeleton of Cadabra?
No, I've only heard about it.
That movie is amazing. I highly recommend it. It's a parody and tribute to basically all B movies of the 50s and early 60s, like all of them in one movie.
Okay.
And the dialogue, it's filmed in black and white. It's shot in those static type shots. A lot of the cheaper ones were made in. And it's written and performed in that B movie stoic flat style, but the dialogue is goddamn hilarious. It's really funny and clever and thought out. So I don't know, it would have been nice if that's what they were doing. It would have been nice if they had done that. Make the dialogue funny if you're going to do it flat with bad acting. Because otherwise you can't tell if it's a parody or just that thing.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a fine line.
No, I agree. And like, there's moments in this where things feel like really tongue in cheek. Like, there's an Avengers reference, which I thought was kind of crazy to put in, but I liked it. When Hyper Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla finish off one of the monsters, they pull the scene from the first Avengers movie with Thor and Hulk just randomly punches Thor off screen. Yeah, they do that with Hyper Godzilla just randomly punching Mecha Godzilla off screen. That was funny. I like it. I can dig it. But then, I don't know, it's just all this death and destruction being wreaked on Chicago. That, again, to go back to the just way films are made, for all the buildings that are destroyed, like in every other shot of this, seems like every time we cut to a new shot of Chicago, there's no path of destruction,
Oh, and also that's kind of, this film, because there's some city scenes that look like they were shot in somebody's apartment. Like, it looked like, I swear to God, like, it looked like there was a shot of a monster on the floor, and it looked like there was like
carpet or something. Yeah.
Carpet and their collection of CDs and video games next to them. It didn't look like a building. It looked like their PlayStation collection, and that's kind of funny too. Although I don't know, it's shot in such ways where I don't know if it's a joke. What I kept thinking was all throughout the film was this doesn't look so much like a Godzilla film. It actually looks like a Godzilla film made by Channel Awesome.
Oh yeah, I could see that. Just like
It
that.
looks like a Channel Awesome movie. It even has Dr. Insano in it.
Yeah, I
Like,
could see that. It does have that like, and I think that's just those are the tools that are available, and
Yeah.
that's what something looks like when someone doesn't like understands how to use compositing tools, but doesn't know how to make it look professional.
Yeah.
And to be fair, even the professionals kind of can mess it up from time to time. Like
George
Thor
Lucas.
yeah, George Lucas, sure. I was going to go for a much more recent example, like Thor Ragnarok.
Uh-huh.
Like the scene where Odin dies in Thor Ragnarok. Spoilers for Thor Ragnarok. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I probably should mention that.
Yeah. Where Odin and Thor and Loki are in like that field or cliff area or whatever. And like it's really, really obviously green screen and really, really obvious that they're not actually there. And then you go back and you watch the trailers for Thor Ragnarok and the exact same scene in which that takes place, because it's the same scene where like Thor throws his hammer at Hela and Hela catches it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that like in the trailer that was in a New York alley. In the proper film, it's in the middle of a field. One of them looks significantly worse, and it's really obvious why. Because they rushed at the last minute, and it just looks really poorly composited in. So, even when professionals can't do it on the fly, yeah, people who kind of sort of just understand it, it's going to look like this. There's just no getting around that.
Yeah, and I think the movie mostly uses it tongue-in-cheek, although, yeah, I just wish it just did it stronger. I guess probably my biggest complaint, outside of, like, the script, is, like, the length. I think this could have, been a lot tighter. Mm-hmm. Maybe a half hour, maybe an hour at the most.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because, yeah, I've already like mentioned this before. Like, my patience kind of shrunk as the film kept going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of where I was with it too. Like, I got through this about 1.5 times because I wanted to try to be as fair as I could to it and see if I could point out things that I thought were really smartly done. And there are moments of the way things are edited that look really good, but then there are others that don't. Like, I really like that there are scenes where I didn't notice it the first time, but they got monsters fighting on screen, and I realized the second watch through, those actors definitely are not in the same room. That is a fight entirely composed on green screen. And you know what? That's pretty impressive that it slipped by me the first time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, then there's other stuff like the big important ship is clearly just a toy, and I can literally see the screws for the toy. Like, he couldn't even go get a model. I don't know, just stuff like that. I'm like,
I don't know, stuff like that I kind of can, be cool with, because, it's just part of the charm. One of the things I really liked was the backstory the commander gave, where they kind of caught us up on the original series of Godzilla films from the 50s through the 70s. And they used art. They had some really cool art to represent, the flashbacks. I thought that was really cool. It's funny listening to them reference Destroy All Monsters, which that film takes place in 1999, even though it was made in like the 60s. So it's like, oh, then that happened pretty recently for this film. Oh, that's weird. It was kind of weird that she was explaining this to this guy. Like, he should kind of know this. Like, giant monsters fighting in 1999 is pretty important. I would remember that.
I think so, but then again, this generation with their Twitters and their Facebooks.
Oh yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, they just want to live tweet the next monster fight. They don't want to pay attention to it for historical, accuracy.
Yeah, let me explain to a soldier on this mission, 9/11 and Al Qaeda.
Okay.
See, this thing happened.
Oh my!
When we were attacked. Like, yeah, I know. I
was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a dumb guy. Okay. And so, yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. I like the fact that it used that. There were some subtle references to some of the films. One of my favorites one is when Razor Shark gets out of the plane, and his cohorts come to greet him, and he puts his hand out and he says, stand back, I might be radioactive. And that felt directly from Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, where the hero gets out and his daughter wants to greet him, and that exact exchange happens. So I think that was a clear reference, because that's in that movie. That's a really sweet, that's a really tender, like, emotional moment at the end of that film. So I don't know. That one I picked up immediately when I saw that.
Okay, that's cool.
Have you seen All Giant Monsters All Out Attack?
Maybe. I don't know. It's been a couple years since Bill made me watch him. I don't know. Like, I remember I saw GMK, a couple others.
It's the one where Godzilla has white eyes. It's the only one where he has white eyes. And
okay, yeah, and like Ghidorah and Mothra and...
are the good guys.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Oh, okay. I love that film.
Okay.
Even though it kind of like what's so cool about what's interesting about the Japanese 2000 series is it's obvious Toho wasn't sure what to do with Godzilla, so they turned that into a positive instead of a negative, and said, "Fuck it, let's have each film be something different, and not be connected to the rest of the folklore and the mythology of the series," which I think mostly worked. There were a couple of flat ones, but there were a couple of really strong ones in that series, and it was an interesting way to go about it. I don't know if I've ever seen a film series or TV series or any kind of revival do that before, where the producers are going, you know what, fuck it, and let's do something.
Okay.
I don't know how they...
Anyway,
Yeah.
can we let's get back to this. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with Godzilla Battle Royale?
Whew, no, I think that's kind of it. I think that's all I got. I got strong mixed feelings. God bless whoever made this thing. You really put your heart out, kids. I love you. You really did your damnedest. I just wish you had a really stronger script and a shorter film.
Yeah. Again, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Really, really valiant effort, and to the hardcore Godzilla fans, I'm sure there are people who will love this no matter what. To me, not being a Godzilla fan, except vicariously through others, it just kind of... It's too hard to ignore all the problems. So I guess we'll go ahead and go on to ratings. I'll give Godzilla Battle Royale 3 just a 3, a solid 3, because I think it's a little bit better than average just on effort alone. I'll give it 3 out of 5 cybernetic King Kongs.
Gotcha. And I will give it also 3 out of 3 oxygen destroyers. It's
3 out of 5, you mean?
Excuse me, 3 out of 5.
Okay.
3 out of 5 oxygen destroyers. Valiant effort. I would recommend it mostly towards serious Godzilla fans. I wouldn't recommend it to a casual Godzilla fan at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because it looks like anybody who doesn't care for Godzilla films, even if they have, let's say you're a person who hasn't seen any Godzilla films, you just think they're dumb, but this is kind of what you'd think they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay. Well, next week, let's do another request that was shot to me. I need to find it in my watch later real quick. I should have pulled that up. Damn it! What am I doing? I'm a terrible, terrible YouTuber. I have to give it up now.
You have not shown one dead body on your channel. So.
I know, god damn it. Yeah, let's talk about Bats and Jokes Uncut, the Joker Origins fan movie. This was requested, so we'll talk about that one next week. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.